Today is a very special day. Want to know how special it is, Mikey? I'm so happy we's are back. This is a great tendies day. I took some tendies.
I want to know how special it is.
It's so special. It is CPI Day, Fed Day, coupon expiration day, the eve of the Tesla shareholder vote, and the very special day we open what's in this box, which part of me really wants to start with this, and then we can talk about Donald Trump, the Fed, Roaring Kitty, my Tesla thesis. We'll throw that in here as well. What the hell's going on with Russia and Cuba? What is this, Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0? Holy smokes. We got to talk a little bit about this short BTC thing. So we had a lot to cover along with whatever else comes up in the meantime, but I think it needs to happen after that box. What do you think?
Let's open it.
Let's do it! The eve of the Tesla shareholder vote. As I stated on X, people get mad when I say Twitter. The vote should pass. Even if it doesn't, I'm optimistic that there's a backup plan or backup contingency in place where, you know, Elon and board won't want the stock to plummet. So they'll say, don't worry, we'll come up with a new plan for proposal or whatever. And eventually they'll figure it out. But look at this. These are nice. This is like a porcelain or I don't know, some kind of good looking ceramic. I like that. That's nice. That's pretty beefy. I saw they came out with another like silk rack tequila the other day, and somebody's like, Kevin, you should buy this. I go, what makes you think I drink?
I've never seen you drink. Usually my vision's pretty blurry.
I like how on it says, haha, cheers. There's like a little...
Oh, yeah, the hedgehog, the hedgehog meme guy.
All right. So, here we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I need a bottle opener. Quick, save me. Yeah, it's not twistable. Okay, anyway, while we stand by for a bottle opener, we did have a market that sold off into a close. Ooh, fireball. Office fireball. We did have a market that sold off into the close. Thought maybe there'd be a little bit of a bounce. What seems to be happening right now is a lot of profit taking that happened during the actual sort of Fed meeting and towards the end of the Fed meeting. That's my guess, mostly because we're already after Broadcom's results, which were positive. It was up like 9% after earnings. We're already seeing a comeback in markets. I think that was an absolutely overdone sell-off into the close. So even though I took some big tendies today, I did carry some new options that I opened over to tomorrow because I believe that sell-off is overdone. So we'll see what happens. But I think you also bought some options into the close. What did you buy going into the close?
So going into the close, I rebought a lot of the Tesla calls that I had today because I sold those for...
You took some tens?
Hefty tendies. I sold Tesla and I sold my Apple, and then I rebought Tesla, Apple, and GameStop just absolutely took a nosedive. So I was like, I am in on that too.
You know, it's funny. I have the chart for those $20 call options for Roaring Kitty. He's got 120 or 125,000 contracts of those outstanding for June 20th, I think, next Friday, whatever it is, 21st. And I have the chart up. And I remember I saw them today. I'm like, oh, they're like, you know, $11, $12. They're up from their lows of like $7. After the market closed, I got back. I went to my computer and I'm like, what? They're down to like $6 again. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but yeah, those had a little bit of a tank into the close. So you bought the GameStop dip there.
I did.
What's the current thesis on what's happening with GameStop? Are people thinking they're going to buy Steam? Is it just enthusiasm that because they have so much cash and no debt now that they're going to be able to do whatever the hell they want? What are people betting on?
We just like the stock, man.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, this reminds me, I won't mention names, but somebody, yeah, $6.40 is where those calls ended. Somebody, cheers, dude.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers. Somebody asked me, they're like, hey, man, do you want to go do a live stream about GameStop?
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be gross.
It's actually pretty good. Do you want to do a live stream about GameStop and we could like fundamentally analyze GameStop? And I'm like, well, A, I've already done that many times on the channel. B, are you trying to poo-poo on the financials? And they're like, yes. I said, absolutely not. Like, no, nobody, we don't need to go there. Like this, we like the stock. There's momentum in it. And quite frankly, now the financials are actually really robust because they don't burn that much cash compared to what they just raised. I think they probably, I mean, now I got to look at their cash flow and just look at it really quickly. But before they raised money, yeah, they were losing a little bit of money, but it wasn't like horrible. But now they have lots of money to do whatever they want with it. So it's actually very interesting. I'll look at it. Christian, do we have mine plugged in? If we do, I could probably show the doc here. So these are going to be the quarterly results we'll grab, the earnings release. And let's just look at their cash flow statement. Here it is. Cash flow from operating activities, negative $107 million. But that's for the quarter end. So they lose about $400 million a year. But consider that they just basically raised, what, $3.5 to $4 billion? So they just raised about 10 years of operating losses. I don't think people realize how much cash they have now. It's actually really crazy. What's the thing worth? GME stock, it has a market cap of 9, and they just basically raised half their company in cash. So it's kind of like just paying almost 2 times book for the company. And you got huge brand value, massive nostalgia. You ever go to a midnight release at GameStop?
I never did. So I didn't really grow up with any consoles. Like I didn't have like the PlayStation or anything.
You were deprived.
I was so jealous every time I'd see it.
Yeah,
the Halo games or whatever
yep.
what was coming out at the time. Yeah,
I'd go to Splinter Cell and World of Warcraft midnight releases, and I think I went to the Halo 3. But yeah, you go to the mall, and it was weird because nobody's at the mall. Like all the doors are locked except one like weird side mall entrance door, and then there's just a bunch of gamers with hoodies. Hey, man, so you a rogue or you a druid? You kind of look like a rogue. People like trying to speculate what you are. That's cool. And our generation has the nostalgia of still buying games at GameStop. And now you have a company that quite frankly has 10 years with a lot of retail locations to figure it out. Mm-hmm. So no, I don't want to hold a live stream pooping on it. Because quite frankly, they're honestly just in a good spot right now. So good for them.
We like the stock.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So what do you got? You brought something up on Roaring Kitty. What do we got there?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna go over his call. So he has, like you mentioned, 120,000 calls. The strike price of $20 expiring on the 21st. He had a live stream. When was that? Friday? This last Friday. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting position he's in because he's sitting on a lot of money if he can liquidate it, and I don't think it'll look good if he liquidates it in advance. Plus, everyone will be able to see that happening because he's got a lot of shares or a lot of options. So I guess hold it till close, but that means that it's in his best interest to make sure this rally keeps going.
Well, 100%, because if GameStop closes for less than $20 next Friday, and he's still and it's at $25 now, and he's still holding those contracts. Those are $200 million of contracts that literally go to zero.
And he spent like 60 mil on them, I think.
Yeah, fair. So, but still, even 60, like even your basis going to zero, it's like, holding contracts to expiration. I don't know that I've ever, like, on some of these calls, especially if you did out of the money, which I think he started out of the money. He was buying them in early May or something like that, or mid-May. Man, that's a tough proposition. But, I mean, good for him. Christian, we could pull up the chart right here. This is actually a chart of the call options pricing itself, charted out over a period of an hour. And so you could see here in early May, this is when we got the lean forward emoji on GameStop. And you could see that this option pricing at one point went as high as $46 per contract. And then this was, I believe, leading up to his live stream right here. Where leading up to his live stream, they were worth somewhere around $26. Now a contract's worth $6. So the volatility of this is insane. Like, he's got to look at his portfolio every day, and when it's red, he's going to need a little more than a Heineken.
To say the least.
Goodness gracious. But we'll see what happens. I mean... last time he diamond-handed.
Yep.
Do you think he's going to diamond-hand again?
Yep. mostly because now he's got like eyes on him, right? He's getting scrutinized. So he could get, at this point, like people know who he is, they know what he's doing. He can get in trouble for market manipulation. Yeah. Not to mention, like, as long as you stay relevant in that meme space, especially with like the Wall Street bets crowd.
Yeah.
It's a lot of power. Like, you could always come back and make more money in the future, but once you burn that bridge, you're
Exactly.
out.
So he's actually incentivized to hold to expiration. Say he posts held to expiration, and then in 2 years from now, because he's up plenty of money. In 2 years from now, have another lean forward chair with some new calls he positioned and just do it again, just like he disappeared for 3 years and came back. So, I mean, you're right. Keeping that reputation going there is important. And I personally don't think he's a market manipulator, but I do think a lot of pissed off suits are going to allege it. And I wouldn't be surprised if some regulators try to open some kind of investigation. I don't know that anything will come of it, but it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying it's right, but I will say it's something I'm paying attention to, because just in social media, even in general, or even just us, like as regular people, if you post your trades on X, let's say, and it does really well, are you now a market manipulator? I mean, if he is, then are you, or is every short seller? We should start with Congress. Nancy Pelosi.
Pelosi, she's a very good trader.
Somehow.
I don't know how she's so good.
Somehow she just always seems to strike.
What do the shorts look like on GameStop right now?
Ooh, short interest on GameStop. I'll boot it up and we'll find out. But last I checked, it was somewhere around 26%. I know there are a lot of short sellers who are like, oh, we're ready to short it again. So I think what happens is when you start getting these downtrends, it's the short sellers jumping on the bandwagon, and they're helping kind of contribute to its fall, which is interesting. I don't think I saw any stock exchange halts today on GME. Do a quick peek of that. So if I just do NYSE trading halts, you can Google that. You get all their trading halt data. And as it fell today, how interesting. Not a single halt at all today on GameStop. Oh, interesting. Oh, well.
Short interest?
It's odd. Oh, right. Yeah. I got to get pulled up. While I pull that up, what else? I think that's... I mean, he posts memes like every single day. And I remember he commented on people liking his meme or being thankful that people liked his memes, because when he was 30 minutes late, I'm like, here, I'll just do a presentation of what he's going to say. And we're like, oh, guys, thanks for the memes. Thanks for coming. Oh, wow. Almost 500,000 of you or whatever. It was almost like verbatim.
I remember that.
We did a little short on YouTube with it. And it's like, this is crazy. It was flattering how accurate it was, but also kind of funny. It's like, yeah, guys, thanks for liking them. He's like, how could you look at him and be like, oh yeah, that's a market manipulator? He's just a dude. But that was also part, a lot of people allege like, well, that was part of his act. That's part of the show. He's so smart. He knows he has to look like just the dude. So it's harder to convict him in front of a jury.
I actually agree with that. I think he's kind of playing a role a little bit.
Because he's licensed, right? He's got a bunch of licenses. Like, I think he's got like the Series 24 General Principles license, which is a hard one to get. He's got a bunch of securities licenses, and he used to work for a broker-dealer. They got fined for not monitoring his social media posts in the past. It was like $4 million fine or whatever. So
was this during the first rally or pre?
First rally.
Okay.
Yeah. After the first rally, I think it was FINRA that fined him for not monitoring his social media. But that's because they had a policy that said they would monitor his social media. Okay, so the latest data that I have at this moment is, if pulling it up right now live, we're recording this live. The latest data I have right now is that we're only at 14%. I think that's going to skyrocket. I think that's pretty low. That'll skyrocket pretty quickly. So, but that's also a little dated. We're actually going to get the next set of short interest data probably in a couple days, because the exchanges only report it every 2 weeks. And other firms, third-party firms, they try to come in and estimate what they think the trends are going to be based on flow data that they're seeing.
I see.
Yeah, and they try to estimate those changes over time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so give it 2 days. Friday, check it out. But see, Friday's after coupon expiration day. So remember, meetkevin.com, link down below. Okay, what else?
All right, let's talk about Donald Trump.
Oh, Donnie T.
Donnie T. A few things to cover. He had some comments on Taylor Swift that are kind of trending right now, and I thought they were kind of funny. So this is for an interview, and well, I'll just get right into it. Here's what he had to say about Taylor Swift. Do you want to do it?
You do it.
I'm not going to do the Trump impression, but he said, I think she's beautiful, very beautiful. I find her very beautiful. I think she's a liberal. She probably doesn't like Trump. which is kind of funny that he referred to himself in the third person. I hear she's very talented. I think she's very beautiful, actually. Unusually beautiful. And then later in the interview, he says, she's a liberal, or is that just an act? She's legitimately a liberal? It's not an act? It surprises me that a country star can be successful being liberal.
I think he doesn't pay attention to her basically at all.
Yeah.
Because just calling her a country star does minimize what she's become. She's a great entrepreneur. She's a showstopper. Obviously has moved into pop and other themes. Her albums are almost all like different themes. It's really incredible. Like Reputation is so different from you know some of the others we've seen. So or 1989, whatever, just examples. So and how she's doing all the eras, which are like all these different personalities. This is way more than just a country singer. So Trump referring to her as a country singer kind of implies that I feel like he's kind of doing what Trump does best, which is like trying to say something that everybody can agree with. And who disagrees that she's a pretty girl? I don't think there are many people that are like, oh, she's ugly. Okay, maybe there are some, but it's certainly going to be 70 to 80% popular. And I think that's a little bit of what Trump likes to go for. Like, people start, oh, you're against CBDC, central bank digital currencies? Oh, okay. What does that evolve into? I'm going to be the crypto president of the world. Everybody freaks out, screaming, roaring. Now he says it every single rally. I'm going to be the crypto president. Nobody's seen a crypto president before. Crooked Biden. Or is it Crooked Hillary? It's Crooked Hillary.
Crooked Hillary.
Crooked Hillary.
Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
Sleepy Joe probably doesn't even know what crypto is. Probably doesn't even know what money is. Because he lost it all to Hunter Biden.
It's also funny that he's asking, is she a liberal? And mentioned she probably doesn't like Trump. She's like tweeted against him like a couple of years ago, right?
Yes. Oh, she is like very vocally anti, like, there's a famous video. I wonder if I could find it. Not that we have to play it, but there's a video of Taylor Swift almost in tears, encouraging people not to vote for Donald Trump, and suggest like, oh man, I want to find it. But she's on a couch with her whole family. There is a clip of her sitting with her family on the couch, talking about how she morally feels like she has to speak out and defend against Donald Trump. And she doesn't care about the potential political backlash. So yeah, she doesn't like Trump. Trump apparently doesn't know that.
He doesn't know that, it seems.
All right, so what else we got?
All right.
What's else going with Donald Trump? I heard he had a gun and now he's not allowed to have a gun or something like that. This
Well,
is crazy.
he's a convicted felon, so he's not allowed to have a gun. But
is that in every state? Is that true? Wait, Florida though. Florida?
The gun is in Florida, but it's registered in New York.
Oh, see, I think Florida even that would be interesting. Can felons in Florida have a gun?
Pretty sure anything goes in Florida.
Pretty much, Florida man. They went to constitutional carry with DeSantis, and it does look like at least presently they're generally prohibited. But then there are exceptions, like legal pathways for restoring your right, usually after waiting periods. So yeah, he probably would have to. That's, I personally think, and I know people get mad at me for this, but people get mad at me about everything. This is why do I wear a vest that says "Don't sue me, bro"? And just like in case that isn't visible, you know, I got my
Double fist in it.
Yeah. So Donald Trump should be pardoned. And I'm going to say by the Democratic Party to make that clear, because Biden can pardon him federally, and then obviously the other leaders in the Democratic Party in state positions of power can pardon him on state levels, okay? We don't need to get into the nuance of this, because as soon as you say, well, he can't be pardoned, it's a state crime federal. Listen, blanket pardon, everything, in coordination. The Democratic Party is very coordinated. I found that out running for governor. They are extremely coordinated. There's no competition in the Democratic Party. The party makes a decision, the entire party goes in that direction. And everyone working in the Democratic Party is either with that party decision or against it. There's no dissension in there. It's kind of weird. Probably good for party dynamics, but probably bad net for America, because you can't have choice amongst Democrats. But what happens is, if you pardon Trump, you actually give Biden some big cojones, because it would show Like, that Biden is so confident that he could beat Trump even without him being a criminal. It makes it seem like Biden doesn't have to rely on the crux of the legal system to beat Trump. Whereas if Trump loses, now it's like, well, you had to put your whole DA wherever to get Trump. You couldn't win a fair fight. So it's like, even if Biden wins, there's an asterisk. There'd be no asterisk if he had the balls to pardon him.
That's an interesting point. Do you think it would increase Trump's chances of winning if he got pardoned?
I don't think it would make a difference if he got pardoned because what I do think is I think the conviction substantially helped Trump, because I think it sent a huge signal that we've never had this happen before, where what is it, like an 8-year-old case is brought up and the statutes of limitations are extended through whatever various loopholes or whatever in campaign finance laws to bring a case over something like this, which sounded like it was a consensual relationship, whether there was sex or wasn't sex, and it was really just about a mutual payment. It just feels reachy. I'm not saying that Trump doesn't do shystery things. I think Elon does shystery things too, and I like Elon. And so really here, this is where I don't think you want to be the president. I don't think you want to be Biden, where you win because you weaponize the justice system. I just think that's a weak win. Win right. Win on, clean up your messaging on how you're winning on inflation, on jobs, the economy. Because even though the economy feels like poop right now because prices are so high, at least the data that we're getting, it's probably a lot of it's just like government spending and AI. But a lot of the data we're getting right now is like, at least right now, it seems like things are doing well. That's the message that Biden should go with. I'm not saying that's how everybody's going to feel, because there are a lot of people who think, no, everything's crap right now. Business is slow. Small businesses are suffering. It's hard to hire people at a reasonable wage. Car loans are expensive. Student loans are expensive. And that's the argument Trump should go with. But that's my point, is Biden should say economy's good. People can decide. If they believe that, vote for Biden. If you don't believe it, vote for Trump. But it shouldn't be vote for me because he's a felon.
Sure.
That's I think an asterisk of a win.
When you said 8-year case, and I had to think about it, I was like, no, that was just 8 years. And that's kind of mind-blowing. Time is really flying.
Yeah, 2016 was when the whole hush money contract was made. It was like October of 2016, right before the election. That's when the payment was made. Not when the alleged affair occurred. That was like way before that. I think wasn't that in the early 2000s? When did she allege that?
Mid 2000s?
Yeah. Yeah, that was even another 10 years before that. So how's she supposed to, him or her, supposed to remember all this stuff? It's crazy. Anyway.
Do you remember where you were during the election results 2016?
Yeah, I actually remember exactly where I was. 2006, by the way. An affair,
yes,
2006.
Yep,
nice,
right,
good call. Yeah. I was on the way to drop off our mail-in ballots in California. Because, we fill them out at home and then I take them to the drop box. We could drop them off by like 9 p.m. or whatever. So the election was already called. But I had to show, it was a cop. I had to show a cop a rental property. So I unlocked the door for the cop, showed him the rental property, which was like at 8 o'clock. And then as I left that rental property, I'm driving over and I'm looking at this also like, this is going to be crazy, because nobody thought he was going to win. So I remember looking at him like, oh, the next 4 years are about to be really fun. And so a lot of people, like Lauren's mom, she couldn't sleep for the next 3 or 4 days. She's just like, what the fuck? The country's going to go to hell. We're going to World War III. Like the extremeness of opinion out there. I'm just like, dude, every pollster is a moron. That's all I was thinking. I'm like, this is crazy. Everybody said there was not a fat chance that he would win.
I was working in San Francisco at the time, and I was home. I lived in Oakland, and the guy who I lived with was having a party, like a viewing party for the election results. So there was like maybe 20 or 30 very, very liberal people gathered around the TV watching. The night ended in tears. It was so awkward because it started with like drinking and good times. It's a political party, yay! And it got so somber so quickly. And by the end of the night, people were crying. Like it was something, man.
I think it's pretty remarkable. Just most of us, it seems like when it comes to like the election, it feels put a lot of weight on the election. And people are like, I'm not going to make a business decision until the election. I'm not going to buy a house until the election. I'm not going to buy stocks until the election. I'm not going to do whatever until the election. I've always had this mindset since, quite frankly, watching Bush versus Gore as a child. I'm like, in the grand scheme of things will change on the margins. Do I really think my personal life is going to change massively and dramatically? Not really. I can there be like 20% swings? Yeah, probably. But I generally just don't put that much weight on like. My point is, maybe that's my coping mechanism of like whoever wins or loses is. Whatever. Just tell me what the rules are and I'll play the game. Like, I know I don't have the power to change the election, so why am I going to feel happy or sad about it? I'm just going to okay, they won? Great. What stocks am I going to buy? Okay, that person won? Fine. What are we going to do? Make the plan around that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. And then earlier you mentioned CBDC. Trump actually had a post or a truth on Truth Social yesterday, June 11th. So he says, vote for Trump. Bitcoin mining may be our last line of defense against a CBDC. Biden's hatred of Bitcoin only helps China, Russia, and the radical communist left. We want all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA. It will help us be energy dominant.
Wow. Made in the USA Bitcoin. You know, that's something that Kevin O'Leary actually called for. Clean Bitcoin. Versus like dirty Bitcoin. Well, I guess that's a little different from US. It would be more like this Bitcoin was mined with renewables versus that. I don't think any of that's going to happen. It's interesting. I think it's a populist post. You know, I don't think the whole point of crypto is that, well, specifically Bitcoin, is that it's decentralized and that you can't. Like you're competing against other miners in various different locations. But what is interesting is this was like many years ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago. When I first started hearing about a central bank digital currency, I actually thought the whole purpose was just to make payments faster, like settlements faster, you know, instead of an ACH taking a day or a wire taking 3 hours, we can have instantaneous transfers. And I know JP Morgan was working with the Federal Reserve on some kind of blockchain technology. But I never thought of it as like evil or really bad. But then I've realized what other people's arguments are, and they're not necessarily wrong. Other people have this concern that if we move to CBDCs, we're going to move into a cashless society. So we're going to be removed from the ability to spend money without government supervision. And so now the government theoretically could turn on or off your access to your money, which is really bad because, like, let's say you got sued by the government and they freeze your bank accounts, you can't even afford to pay for an attorney. And in a situation where the judicial system is starting to feel a little politicized, that's scary. And I think so. I think some of these concerns are valid, and so I've slowly warmed up to the idea of maybe I see where people are coming from. That like you don't want to lose untrackable currency and the privacy, and to some extent that's what crypto offers you is privacy. Now, obviously, if the IRS starts making you put your crypto wallet addresses on your tax returns, it's probably less private, ironically, because once you know somebody's wallet address, you could see everything they're doing. And if you have a database of everybody's crypto wallet addresses, then you know who the other party is, right? So, but yeah, it is fascinating to see Donald Trump pick up on it so much. And I see what he's saying with Russia and the others, because they, as well as terrorist networks and otherwise like Iran, can finance Hamas or Hezbollah or whatever using crypto very easily. So I get that. So I see all the sort of sides of it. I don't know. It's really interesting. What do you think? What am I missing here on central bank digital currencies?
You nailed it. I mean, I would like to see the SWIFT payment system replaced. It's a little bit archaic. It's a little bit slow. There's a lot of money just parked not doing anything. But I also worry about the thought of not having physical money or some sort of untraceable money.
Yeah, just the thought that like even now the IRS is like trying to see every like Venmo you're trying to send over $600 is like, oh my gosh, that unfortunately is a problem for I think Biden, because one of the first things Biden did is, oh, we're going to increase spending, but then we're going to hire 80,000 tax like IRS agents to increase audits. Well, now let's say every single of those 80,000 IRS agents does 10 audits. That's nearly 1 million Americans who previously haven't been audited now getting audits. Well, those people are going to be pissed. You think they're going to vote for Biden? It basically has, thanks for voting me, here's your audit written on the letter. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't imagine like just doing a garage sale and then having everything already reported. I know you should be paying your taxes anyway.
Yeah.
But it's also like, it's a garage sale.
Some of it's de minimis. It's just like, it's just minor, like this is ridiculous, and I don't know, but whatever. Like I see the sides, but I also see where Donald Trump is coming from, because he's funneling the overbearingness of government. And I'm a big fan of smaller government, not bigger government. Mm-hmm. But that's mostly, I think, because we look at it from a sort of a finance point of view and capitalist point of view of let the free market work.
So, okay, well, we can move on from Trump, but we're not moving away from Bitcoin yet, because I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you.
Oof.
Why are you short Bitcoin?
All right, so as of the moment of this recording, on the afternoon of Wednesday the 12th, I'm not.
Okay.
But I was. So what happened was at Friday of last week, I went short Coinbase. By the way, this video is brought to you by Coinbase. Link down below. You can get up to $200 for signing up for an account with Coinbase. Go to metkevin.com/Coinbase. Get up to $200. That's a paid promotion. Crypto brokerage. Yeah, check them out. I do like Coinbase as a company. But if you want a proxy that moves at a bigger fluctuation than Bitcoin for shorting Bitcoin, Coinbase usually moves more. So like when Bitcoin goes down 3%, Coinbase is down like 5 or 6%. So it gives you a little bit of almost leverage on if you're directionally short Bitcoin. Now, why would you be directionally short Bitcoin? Well, because Bitcoin doesn't have earnings, it is immune to the noise of like the earnings cycle. It's something where like, what the pisser is like you go long GameStop and then they do an offering the next day. Mm-hmm. It's like you could be right on your thesis, but the stock's now down 30% the next day because they're doing an offering, right? That's just an example. You don't have that with Bitcoin. Like there's no news I need to be worried about with Bitcoin. So now I think of it as it's a market tool and that doesn't have earnings. So if the entire market goes down, everything in the market goes down, like CPI comes in hot today and the entire market goes down, all risk assets are going to go down, including Bitcoin. However, if I say, well, I'm going to pick NVIDIA to short because that's going to be part of the market that's going to go down if inflation comes in hot. So NVIDIA goes down 3%, and then they go, by the way, we just signed a contract with NASA for 100,000 H100s. Boom, it goes up 10%. Whatever, right? Then it's like my macro hedge actually got screwed by company data. Mm-hmm. I don't want that. So a pure market hedge that doesn't have the noise of company announcements is Bitcoin. So I went into CPI with a hedge on Bitcoin, which was basically I invested into, I think it's ProShares. I think it's BITI. It's just a -1 Bitcoin ETF. And I was also short coin. I closed my short coin actually before CPI, so I didn't even keep that for a CPI hedge. The reason I closed the short on coin was it took all my freaking buying power. Uh-huh. Because like usually I do options in my trading account, and I'm like, $500,000 short coin, and I had some other trades going as well that I wanted to build out as well. I'm like, taking all my buying power here, man. So I rebought all the coin to cover the short. I made like 27K or whatever shorting a coin over those few days. So I'm glad I closed it. Because this morning, coin went right back up because CPI came in positive.
Right.
But that's the point of a hedge. It's like, if the market goes bad, you have something that helps you. If the market goes good, fine, you're going to lose money on the hedge, but everything else is going to do well. That's it. So it's nothing like fundamentally against Bitcoin. In fact, we were touching on this right before filming this. I think that Bitcoin will probably go to, if inflation continues to come down in this direction, I think it's likely that Bitcoin goes up rather to, I think we said $89,000. Yeah. all I did was take the previous high, which I think is about 69K, and add 30% to it for inflation. So I'm just inflation adjusting the high of Bitcoin. And an inflation adjusted high of Bitcoin is going to put you in that sort of $89,000 range. Now, I don't have a fib there until 102. So we could inflation adjust to 89 and then push to that 102 level.
Wow.
But there is going to be massive selling pressure at 100. The question is how much.
Sure.
Yeah. It was just like Apple yesterday. Apple yesterday in my Market Open live stream, which if you don't follow me there yet, just go to Meet Kevin Market Live and you'll see it. But in the Market Open live stream yesterday, I said, hey, we're watching Apple starting to break out. And here's what's probably going to happen, like from a psychological point of view. Once we hit 200, we're going to have selling pressure. You can actually see that pressure right here. That's because people put sells in at round numbers usually. So I'm like, we need to eat through that order book. So I'm sitting here as this is happening, watching the red candlesticks form. These are on the 5 minutes, so there were more on the 1 minute. I'm watching those red candlesticks form, and I'm live saying, I think there's a lot of selling pressure at 200 just because it's a round number. This is normal. And once we get through that order book and we clean out all of the selling order book at 200, there it is, then we rally. And so we clean this. This process took, we hit 200 first right here. The process took from 10:04 to about 10:27. It took about 23 minutes to clean up the order book at 200. The same thing will happen at Bitcoin 100. And look at it after that the rest of the day. Up to like 205. Today it's at 213, so it's straight up from there once we broke the 200. The same thing will happen BTC 100. Mm-hmm. Not personalized financial advice, not a guarantee. Remember, folks, if you follow the trade alerts I send in the course member live stream, you could lose money. I don't recommend people follow me. I don't recommend people copy me. The whole point of this channel is the same thing that it's been since 2017 when I started this channel, is I'm not guaranteeing that I'm right. I'm just going to give you my perspective. And if you can listen to this and be more right than you would have been had you not listened, that makes me very, very happy. But I can't guarantee it. Don't sue me, bro.
The whole office, we had you playing on the TV today while we were working, and everybody was in on these options today, and it was an absolute blast. Usually, like, I'll do my own DD, even after you come with, like, hey, I have this idea, like, what do you think about this? Like, okay, let me do my own research. And, you know, that was the case with, like, my Tesla calls or buying GameStop today. But as you were leaving today at one point, I heard you mention your, like, or actually, no, I didn't hear you mention it. I saw you post it on Discord while you were sitting on your go-kart getting ready to leave. And I was like, I'm just blindly copying this
Stop.
one. So thanks for paying for my lunch for, like, the rest of the year.
Yeah, like I say, past performance, not a guarantee of future results. You could do that same and lose your lunch money for the rest of the year.
Which is why I won't do it again. But but it worked out really well for me today. So thank you. Okay. Well, that settles the Bitcoin short. I'm glad you're not short anymore,
dude. So I'm not a check sentiment first kind of guy. Like, I talk first and then I see a reaction, which is probably bad because a lot of creators on social media, it's like you check sentiment and then you act. I'm the opposite. I'm kind of like, I'm gonna do this. So I'm like, macro hedge, short Bitcoin. Then I'm just like, people are just like messaging and emailing and, hey, how could you possibly be short the future of currency? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, bro, it's a hedge for CPI, man, bro.
please, bro.
Oh.
All right. Let's talk about a name that hasn't come up in a while. Martin Shkreli. Shkreli. Martin Shkreli. Also known as Pharma Bro. He's the guy who bought the rights to some insulin product like years ago and then jacked up prices like 100x, got away with a lot of money. And he ended up getting in a lot of trouble, getting sued, not because what he did was wrong, but because he defrauded investors somehow. And I don't remember the specifics. But Pharma Bro is back. So this is kind of a fun story. Wu-Tang Clan, right? You know, nothing
Some coin. DAO.
No, this is Wu-Tang Clan is a musical artist.
See, I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, okay. So they're nothing to F with, as they say. Okay, group, they come out with an album. It's a one-off album. Like, There's not copies of it. You have one physical album, and that's it.
So like a disc or whatever with like a mixtape. Like I'm just gonna throw this in my old Windows 98 and burn you a copy kind of thing.
Basically, but you shouldn't be burning a copy of it.
I mean, burning the original of it.
So what happened is he purchased this album. I think it was like $2 million that he paid for it. This was
For the
years
rights
ago.
to all the songs or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, it's his album. He's the only one who gets to listen to the music, basically.
Okay.
And, well, he got arrested years ago, and then as a part of that, he lost a lot of his net worth. They came and liquidated, I think, like $7 million of his stuff. So
Because he was a fraud.
Because he was a fraud. This is a federal court in Brooklyn. And so $7 million they got back, and part of that was the album. This album valued at $2 million, which he purchased for $2 million in 2015. So that's when the same year that he was arrested, convicted, all that for his securities fraud stuff. Anyway, like I said, he had to forfeit over $7 million in assets, and part of that was this album. He was released from prison in 2022. But during the time that he was in prison, another entity actually purchased that album. And the entity is called, was it?
Pleaser DAO?
Pleaser DAO, yeah. They paid $4 million for it.
Oh, so they doubled him while he was in prison.
While he was in prison. Okay. So what did he do is he decided recently, and this is per a lawsuit that's against him right now, that he played the album on Spaces live for everyone to hear, which immediately devalued, obviously, the actual album that this entity had purchased.
Because everybody could just download the recording of it now. What a dumbass.
So according to this lawsuit, it says, and I quote, that he should be, quote, taking all reasonable steps and bear all costs necessary to ensure that the substitute assets are preserved and maintained in good and marketable condition and are not damaged, diluted, or diminished in value as a result of any actions taken or not taken by the defendant and his representatives. And he very much did it. He didn't even deny doing it, because the day before the lawsuit, he posted on X, well, @PleaserDAO blocked me from their accounts, so I think I will play the album on Spaces now.
What a dumbass. Well, since they blocked me on X, let me just violate my contract and get sued.
Yeah, we're
should
mad
send
at
him
each other, so let me, don't sue
Send
me,
him a
bro.
mug and put some tequila in there for him.
We're in a fight, so let me go ahead and escalate things.
Just dumb, man, dumb. You know, I think sometimes, like, people were just like fraudulent to the bone. They just never learn. And it's just like always fraudulent. And I get it. Like the internet, everybody's like, oh, everybody's a scam. Everybody's a fraud. I think it's actually generally pretty rare for people to be just egregious frauds, like so stupid regularly. People, I'm sure, regularly make mistakes or don't do things perfectly. But I think 99% of people don't actually want to scam or hurt people. This guy just didn't give a flying.
Nope.
And he was
Not
a
even
farmer, bro? That's scary.
That's pharma, bro. Well, he's the guy who bought the rights to, it was some sort of insulin medication and basically jacked up the prices because he was the owner of it and made a lot of money.
Scammer.
Yeah.
See, that's like the worst too, because now you're dealing with people who are typically already like tighter on money. I mean, a lot of people need insulin, but I'm just saying, like, it affects a lot of people who are also tight on money. That's rough.
It's like the opposite of the Mark Cuban move where he opened up that pharmaceutical website. Do you know
For insulin?
No. For everything.
Oh, no, I don't know about this. Tell me about this.
Mark Cuban has, Cuban Pharmacy, what's it called? Cost Plus Drugs.
Oh.
And it's got a lot of medication over there, and their whole thing is no middlemen, just directly buy from them, and it's cheap. Like, I'm talking sometimes you can get like 99% off the cost of some of these medications if you buy it from Mark Cuban's website.
Wow. That's a good ad. Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
But, I like him. I think he's straight up. You know, he kind of speaks his mind and says it how it is. But he does get a lot of flack too on X, I see.
He does.
He gets himself into these like weird altercations. I don't know if they're necessary. Like he gets into more negative flack on X than Bill Ackman does. Bill Ackman actually gets really like a lot of positive engagement, it seems like, on X. Even though I also think that guy's a shyster. Like I wouldn't call Bill Ackman a fraud. I don't think that. He's definitely a shyster, though. But hey, maybe that's just the capitalism. You know, if Elon's a shyster and Trump's a shyster and Bill Ackman's a shyster, is that just what it takes to make it? I don't know. And then I guess it depends on the definition of shystering.
That seems to be like the popular opinion that like you can't become a billionaire unless you've like screwed people over, done wrong. And I don't. Like,
I don't want that to be true.
I don't think it's true. I mean, sure, there's a pattern. Like, yes, if someone's taking advantage of other people, they probably will succeed financially. But I don't think that's a prerequisite to making it.
Yeah, that it just might be more common. Interesting. Okay, yeah, good
That's my
point.
take on it.
All right, all right.
You know, Mark Cuban almost ran over one of your employees one time. Kind of.
Oh, at the airport.
Yeah, we were at the FBO. And we were getting onto the jet, and then a car comes by. He wasn't that close. I mean, he was a few feet away from Tristan, and he was like, "That was Mark Cuban." Drove by in a, well, it's probably a rental car. So say it was like a little Hyundai or a Kia or something. He drove by, and I was like, "Ha ha!" I was like, "No, seriously, that was like Mark Cuban." And I'm just thinking, like, I really doubt that, dude. I watched the car pull up. Mark Cuban walks out, hops on his jet. It's like, you were right, dude. That was Mark Cuban. Close I've gotten to him. Anyway.
Speaking of close, tell me about Russia.
Oh, Russia. Yeah. That's right. They're in Cuba.
Yeah, that's you know, it's Cuba's always been very close to Florida. Every time I rent a Wave Runner in Florida, I ask them if they mind if I make a round trip to Cuba. It's just so close.
You're like, nobody usually asks to go that direction. We've never been asked that before.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty wild. So I want to hear this about Russia, and gosh, yeah, it was also very common when I was a child. I don't know if it still is today, but instead of like a border crisis, we had a Cuban crisis where people would. And there were a whole host of like racist jokes and stuff that people would make, which are horrible. But everyone always talked about rafts. So, and it's because you would have migrants. Unfortunately, they would risk their entire lives to make that 70 to 90 mile trek to get to Florida, because Florida had something known as a wet foot, dry foot policy. And that was that if they can capture your raft before you get to land, you get sent back. If you get off the raft and run to land, you get to stay.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like this giant game, and you'd like see it on the news of like another, you know, like the Coast Guard, you know, whatever.
That's very interesting. I didn't know about that. And you called this, when I mentioned, when you saw the news, you kind of called this the Cuban Missile Crisis 2.
2.0. 2.0.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of exactly what it is, because that was...
This Russia thing.
The Russia thing. The Cuban Missile Crisis was considered, because this happened during the Cold War, I don't know what year, but during the Cold War, so post-World War II, considered the closest we got to like actually deploying nukes against Russia. Like that was the peak of escalation. And that's what made the U-2 spy plane so famous. We flew over Cuba, we saw the Russian base, and we're like, holy crap, they got bases here.
Oh, so that wasn't satellite. Did we even have satellites back then? I don't know. That was a U-2.
We would have had satellites, but it was the U-2 that did it.
Interesting.
Because with satellites, you know exactly when they're coming. Everything's like preset. You could track them. With the U-2, you're flying at 70,000 feet. This is like technology way ahead of its time.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
You're wearing like a spacesuit when you're in that thing, because your plane can't pressurize that much.
That's crazy.
And we took photos over Cuba. So anyway, this is all to say that Russia's back, and they're on Cuban soil. And they brought like a fleet of warships. We're not going to war, probably. Not military advice, but I don't think we're going to war, because this is a planned military exercise. They've done it a couple of times before.
Okay.
But what's a little sus is this is like not even 2 weeks after Biden gave Ukraine the okay to use U.S. weapons against Russia. And Russia had mentioned that we might use asymmetric force elsewhere. And then they showed up with a battleship and a nuclear-powered submarine and a few other ships too.
Yeah, a lot of this is, it's just like the classic saber rattling that you get in geopolitics. You know, I don't think it would happen, but let's say there's like a 5% chance one of these things just happens to accidentally sink. Like oh wow, some technical failure, some really bizarre, oh why all of a sudden did that rudder fall off and the whole thing's, I don't know, whatever, right? Kind of honestly what I think would or did happen with the president of Iran. Now this is like full speculation and somewhat conspiratorial, but I think the CIA was involved, and because, you know, okay, older helicopter outfitted likely with IFR, you know, instrument flight rating kits, probably had some EMP kill all their instruments in the heavy fog. And what evidence are you going to get after that thing falls and explodes out of the sky that there was an electromagnetic pulse that basically knocked that thing out of the sky? You're not going to see it. There's not going to be evidence of a bomb, an attack, another, I don't know, what drone. I don't even know what would launch it. But yeah. So anyway, I wouldn't, like, I put like a 5% chance of something like that happening to a Russian ship. because it's so close to us. Problem with that is the fear of what happens after that, the escalation. Like, I don't think Russia is going to pull up to Cuba with parades and flags of their warships and then open their missile bays and point them at America. Like, they're going to get nuked out of the ocean and Cuba won't exist anymore as an island. But so I think this is just, quite frankly, noise, saber rattling. It's designed by Putin to get the American people talking about Russia. The more people fear Russia because they're on our doorstep, the more pressure there is on politicians to stop funding the war in Ukraine, the greater chance Russia has of winning in Ukraine.
I mean, almost guaranteed to stop as soon as the funding stops.
100%. No. Ukraine's screwed without funding or weapons, right? And I know there's this whole argument, oh, well, you know, the military-industrial complex benefits our economy and this, that, or whatever. The reality is, like, if a hurricane comes and destroys 10,000 sliding glass doors in a city, just because you're replacing 10,000 sliding glass doors and just because that's good for the economy doesn't mean that was the best use of resources.
Right.
I would have rather maintained the 10,000 sliding glass doors and spent that on something productive. Like, I don't know, solving homelessness in California. Apparently, our governor can't figure that out, who's now in a giant deficit because he's a dumbass.
He's working on the high-speed train thing.
That's true. Yeah, right.
That should be coming out like 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh, what a knucklehead. But yeah, I think this is a manipulation on people because, you know, I go live on my Market Open stream and I'm getting all these comments like, oh my God, there's a submarine and a warship in Cuba from Russia. And it's like, those are the things that they're manipulating. Putin is literally manipulating fear into American people by design as a war strategy. Kind of crazy. So like, you are the pawn in his negotiation.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's all my theory. I could be wrong.
Did you ever, like, loosely related to this, did you ever hear about the Russian guy who, quote unquote, saved the world during the Cold War? So this is really interesting. Again, peak Cold War, and it's a military base in Russia that's responsible for checking radar and seeing of any U.S. attacks. Basically, this is the group that if the U.S. was to attack Russia, they would be the first to find out and signal a counteroffense, right? Okay. And so this guy, Stanislav Petrov, he's like the last in command, and he sees five missiles coming at Russia, possibly nukes. They believe nukes. His job, his responsibility would be to report that to his higher up, who would immediately launch a counterattack. He decided, because they're using new software, he doesn't entirely trust it, and it seemed very unlikely that the United States would start a nuclear war by launching only 5 missiles. He's like, if the U.S. is actually attacking us, they would go full send, right? So he took the risk and assumed it was a false positive. And we're obviously very lucky he made that decision because Russia would have absolutely attacked with nuclear weapons.
What was it?
Glitch in the system. That's it.
Oh, it was a glitch?
It was absolutely a glitch in the system.
No way.
Yeah, Soviet technology was not amazing, not very reliable.
Wow. That's crazy. I want to name like Stanislav
Petrov.
I want to name one of my kids that. Like, we got to have more children first. I'm out of names right now. Or children to put names on. But that, like, it just sounds like badass. You know, I don't know. Like, I hate to say it, but like Kevin kind of sounds too close to Karen. But
I never thought about that.
Oh, I know. But Stanislav. What's your name? Stanislav. Like, I don't want to F with you. Like, are you going to sue someone named Stanislav? No, because you're going to get killed.
I don't know. Maybe he goes by Stan, and that's it's a lot less.
Which is also kind of cool. He can do porn. Stan.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Wow, long pee-pee. Okay, all right.
On that note,
next.
What else we got? I mean, that's pretty much it, unless you want to talk Terra Luna.
Oh, Tesla. No, we got to do a lot of Tesla. Yeah, let's do Tesla and then Terra Luna. Okay, so here's the scoop, boys and girls. I'm going to pull this chart up. So this is a big deal, and this has to do with a trade for Tesla. We first talked about this pretty heavily in the course member live stream yesterday, and we went pretty in depth on this. So I'm just going to do a little bottom line here. But Christian, maybe we could show this with no picture-in-picture for a sec, just because it's a little tough to see, just the chart itself. I don't know if you can do that. If not, no problem. But yeah, there we go. Look at that. So the white line here, this is Tesla over 4 years. We back-tested this all the way back to 2014 as well, but you should not rely on us. Use your own data. Something that we found is that the 10-day historic volatility for Tesla has only been this low about 4 times previously. Like, getting the historic volatility for Tesla under 20 is very, 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 very rare. And every time, no guarantees, go check the data yourself, but every time it's hit these numbers, like in June of 23, or what was this? I think September of 21. And there was another time over here in 2020. I'm going to try to get the actual numbers. We can pull off that for a moment. Yeah, here are the actual dates. May 27th, 2020. Stock up in the next 2 months. So the next 60 days, the stock was up 98%. October 11th, 21, the stock was up 58% in 2.5 weeks. September 7th, 2022, the stock was up 16% in 2 days. June 8th, 2023, the stock was up 23% in 13 days. And these are just some other dates that I have in here. I think we had another volatility spike like that. Oh, yeah, and then now the most recent one here. So what we found was that Tesla stock, when it comes from a level of extremely low volatility back to normal or heightened volatility, it skyrockets very, very quickly. Now, Tesla stock has already started performing that way. Yesterday, for example, Tesla stock was red and calls and puts were green because volatility came up. See, you want to buy options when volatility is low. You want to sell them when volatility is high. And so Tesla today was up 3.88%. Now it's up another 30 bips in the after hours. I think this is just the potential start. And I think this could be an early signal that once the catalyst of this vote goes through, which I think should go through, I'm not convinced that it will go through. If it doesn't go through, I think there will be a backup plan announced within probably 2 or 3 business days. They don't want the stock to fall that much. I think 258 is in play on Tesla between tomorrow and the Robotaxi unveil of 8.8, which I think the Robotaxi unveil of 8.8 will be buy the rumor, sell the news. The stock will go down after the Robotaxi event. But between all catalysts cleared and we get the amazing interest rate promotion advertised, in May, now advertised on the Y as on the Model 3 as 1.99%, I think we're going to see dramatically better deliveries than people expected. And we could be running to 250 very, very quickly as an AI play, much like I expect Apple to run probably to 250 as an AI play. So we'll see. That's sort of my thesis. Again, this is something that we did in our course member live stream. If you want lifetime access to those sort of insights as I'm looking at them and talking about them and theorizing about them, make sure to join any of the courses linked down below on building your wealth, and you get access to the course member live stream. So that could be the gold course on entrepreneurship. It's not like gold, the metal. It's just like we call it the gold level. Do-it-yourself property management, rental renovations, 0 to millionaire, real estate investing, real estate sales, stocks and psychology of money, whatever. There are some amazing courses in there, so check them out. And yeah, coupon expires tonight. Email us at staff@meetkevin.com if you have any questions. Do you got what do you got here about the superchargers?
Oh, this is just we posted an e-hack about this actually. The supercharger team is back.
A part of it or all of it?
A significant portion.
Interesting.
Have been rehired.
Interesting.
So, and actually stalked one of the guys on LinkedIn who was originally fired, and he made a post about getting fired and then made a post about getting rehired also.
What'd he say?
Okay, so let me quote him here. LinkedIn. I'm just going to open up LinkedIn. Okay. So this guy, initials are TJC on LinkedIn, TJ Connolly. Anyway, when he first left, he made a sad post about like, I'm going to miss the team. Shout out to this person, that person. I made a bunch of great experiences, all that. But a week ago, he makes this post. He goes, 2 weeks ago, I was asked to return to the Tesla charging team. In reflecting on my first days at the Fremont factory in April of 2018, during orientation, leadership asked us why Tesla, and it was another one of those like kind of drinking the Kool-Aid posts. He's very happy to be back. This guy's a huge Tesla fan, but he says, please forgive any delays in my responses. I assure you that the EV charging industry is okay. Tesla will continue to lead and inspire while providing the best customer experience with their best-in-class products and support. He actually got promoted. So when this guy first joined Tesla, he was, let me see, business development. No, this was later on. He started at some other role, but he worked his way up to business development lead for wall connector at Tesla.
Oh, God.
Lost his job. Now he's back as the Tesla charging program manager and business development lead for North America.
Oh, he got a big promo.
He got a pretty big promotion. So he said 2 weeks ago.
Did he go viral on X?
I did not see this go viral on X.
Okay, interesting. Because I'd be so curious to see if like a viral post could have gotten him.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Oh.
I didn't see this.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
go
No,
anywhere.
that's interesting. But anyway, yeah, well, good for him. So that is interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's the bearish news is in the bag. Like, that's already priced in. At this point, the bear bullcrap is priced in. What do you think about this rumor going around about Elon? And he comments about it like, we don't really want to, but we do have our own software stack and stuff. People are like, Tesla should make a phone.
So the rumor is coming back now that he's got beef with Apple.
Right, because of the GPT integration.
Yes. And so there's talks about him banning iPhones or whatever from Tesla. I don't know what.
His company's got it.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
On site, you can't have iPhones or whatever. There's been rumors about a Tesla phone for years and years.
He
and years.
uses an iPhone. Like he's the shyster who was on stage with Andrew Ross Sorokin from CNBC, and Sorokin's like, "Hey, I want to see the screen time on your phone," and then Elon's like, "Ha ha 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 ha." And he's like, no, like, seriously, like, show me the screen time on your phone on stage in front of a bunch of people. And he's like, oh, okay, all right. You want to see my screen time? All right, you want to see my screen time? And he's kind of like BSing or whatever and scrolling around on his thing or whatever. And then he's like, it doesn't show because it's a new phone. And then Andrew's like, oh, okay, no problem. I'm like,
he let him go. No.
Full of shit.
It's probably
15
great.
hours of X.
Yeah, let me see what you've been doing since you got this new phone. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it as a journalist, like you don't want to like bury him on stage, but he
Yeah.
kind of buried himself there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an irony. He's and we've seen transcripts of his like bubbles. They're blue bubbles. Mm-hmm. So that's very interesting. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm not too optimistic about the idea of a Tesla phone. I think it's kind of a weird idea. I don't want Elon to pivot into yet another thing.
It's a distraction almost. Yeah. I agree.
And then good luck competing with. I mean, I know there's people who are going to buy it just because it's Elon.
Yes. Oh, a lot of people buy it. I mean, I would buy it too just to try it. But then I buy a lot of things.
You have like 3 phones.
I'd like to also talk about it on YouTube and stuff. Something that I did see. Who was the guy? Brent Whitten. I love this guy from
Ark Invest.
Brett, not whatever. So I'm thinking like Brent Crude, like crude oil. If my head's all over from market live streams, but he actually replied, a smartwatch that serves as a Tesla key / cyber cab beacon, restricted to fitness tracking, messaging, calling, music, podcasts, Grok, and read-only X. Would be great if it could more seamlessly and losslessly audio interface with vehicles. Also, Starlink emergency connectivity. Ark is really into Tesla. Mm-hmm. I think they also just published their like new price targets. I think their bear case is like $1,800 or something like that. 2,000 and 2,600 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there's a lot of Ark posting on this. Anyway,
can't you already do that with a watch, or does like you just need Bluetooth? I mean, maybe it's only phones for Teslas to like remotely lock and unlock.
With what?
Can you do it like with a smartwatch?
To unlock your phone?
Your Tesla.
On the watch? Or
yeah, can you if you didn't have your phone, if you just had a watch, could you? No?
I don't think so, because you pair the phone, probably that device ID. What are those things called? Christian, you know this. What's the ID that every device on a wireless access point gets? The what? It's like the ID. No, I don't know. Mac ID? No, it's a Mac number.
That's Mac address.
It's
yeah.
a Mac address. Yeah, everything on a network gets a Mac address. And devices have a unique Mac address. I'm sure there's some kind of link to that. I don't think that functionality exists on the watch. I do know that the watch, like when I wear my Apple Watch, will unlock my phone and my computer for me, which is actually really interesting because, like, theoretically, if I leave my computer here and I go to the bathroom, if I'm wearing my watch over there, somebody could probably unlock my computer because my watch is within Bluetooth range without me knowing about it. Not that it really matters, but I thought that is sort of like an interesting feature.
You know, we got to follow up on Brett because we went and visited him early in this year. We drove out over there, and he was very excited for his new toy that he had purchased, the Rabbit R1.
Oh, God.
And I have not heard the best things in the world about that product since then, and I would love to hear his thoughts on it.
Yeah. I think he's a brilliant guy. I would love to hear his thoughts. I want to see if he actually got one. I do have to give him a shout out, though. This was a pretty crazy post. He posted this 5-year chart of interest over time of the Apple Vision Pro versus the iPod. And the iPod right now is outperforming the Vision Pro.
Ouch. Because they stopped making them, right?
Yes.
Wow.
I wonder if it's like a typo for iPad.
Yeah. Yes, probably.
Odd.
Still bad.
Still bad. Yes. It could also be just like who types in perfectly Apple Vision Pro, but I don't know. I think he did the category for it.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Like if you did like Apple VR headset, I wonder if that would be different, but whatever.
Maybe people are looking up iPads. I mean, there's a lot to talk about there too. I heard, this is crazy, calculator app now.
Yeah. Mind-blowing.
Revolutionary.
I will say what they showed in the demonstration was cool with the notes and like how you can alter
graphs and the math you do. Yeah,
we're gonna do that in presentations on the screen that we have over there. Beats the whiteboard and me like.
It's true.
Anyway, so what's Terra Luna?
Terra Luna. So this was you've probably talked about it on your channel before
Many
too.
times.
Yeah, Terra Luna, the stable coin blockchain. So they have to basically shut down and pay $4.5 billion. Their CEO or founder, Do Kwon, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Anyway.
That was the guy who got arrested with a bunch of stuff up his butt.
Yes, the guy who got arrested. You lost me on the second half.
Yeah, he was like hiding stuff, like his crypto wallet or whatever, his hardware wallet. It was like quite hard. Up his butt. I'm pretty sure that was him. I'm not sure. He was arrested at some airport. I think it was like
It was in Montenegro.
that's what it was. Yeah. So appears to have been arrested in Montenegro. Terra founder Do Kwon caught with millions up his ass.
That's good. Yeah, I did not know of that part of the story. That's very interesting.
But why not? Stop. It's bad.
Okay, so he personally is responsible to pay $204 million of that.
It's gonna be stinky.
Court still needs to approve the deal, and the thing is, Terraform Labs, which made and owns Terra Luna, they're still in bankruptcy proceedings, and they have not only do they have obviously more liabilities than assets, which is why they're filing for bankruptcy, but they don't even have $500 million in assets. Oof. Like disregarding their liabilities. They have $450 million in liabilities, $430 million in assets. So even if they find the money, they still stand behind creditors, and there's no way the SEC is going to be getting even a fraction of what they're owed of that $4.5 billion. But he is still in detention in Montenegro.
I wonder if the SEC can get money before some of the other liabilities. Like if you have 430 in assets, where does the SEC come in? Like, can the SEC jump in front of the other people who are owed money?
I feel like this would have been on one of our license exams, and we should know this.
Because like in real estate, the number one debt on property is always property taxes. So you could default on your mortgage, but if you default on your property taxes as well, the government will take the property with first right before your lender can.
Interesting.
Oh, they're always the first lien holder.
Uncle Sam wants his share.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if the SEC has that sort of jurisdiction, but all I could say is that whole Terra Luna situation was quite shitty. So with that, I think we're ready for the outro. Check out the coupon link down below at meetkevin.com, and we'll see you.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is neither personalized financial nor real estate advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show should not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF and hold long positions in various securities mentioned, including potential short positions. However, I have no relationship to any issuers, nor am I presently acting as a market maker.